Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Nika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today is my witchy review. It's Friday, and instead of a book or anything like that, I'm going to do something a little different. This cute packaging came for me. I ordered it from Amazon. All the details are in the description. It's a pendulum. It's a pendulum. Check this out. Check this beauty out. Beautiful stone. I love the antique metal, brass-like finishing. It's very fancy. It's very fancy. You can see, very fancy. So anyway, again, link is in the description so you can get a little bit more detail. I got this fairly quickly in the mail. No issues. I would order from them again. Everything was fine. And oh, here's the bottom of the chain. And if you can see, there's a clasp right here where I'm pointing. There's a clasp. So you can put a different chain on here if you so desired, if you had something else in mind. So you could do that. So I like the flexibility of it. So I purchased this because I actually had fashioned a little something that I called a pendulum, and I keep it in my older Book of Shadows that I have. It's not that I don't use it, I still have it, but I've been adding pages to my grimoire that I'm working on now. So, yeah, I have a pendulum board page, something I downloaded and printed out from Pinterest so that I could use it, and I would do my dowsing and all that right there in my Book of Shadows because I had a whole page dedicated. I printed the page out and glued it in now from Pinterest. But I wanted to upgrade and get a little something. I wanted to level it up. I wanted to level up my pendulum game. So that's why I got it. And to be quite honest with you, I don't believe in coincidences. And I was searching on Amazon. I hadn't even been talking about this. So it's not like, Google, how they listen to you and then they start showing you things that you've talked about in previous conversations. But in this case, it was something in the back of my mind. Honestly, it wasn't on the forefront. I was looking for other things. And this kept being offered to me, And yeah, I went ahead and just invested in it. It's not even that expensive. So, I think it's good for the quality. This is pretty heavy. It's a heavy stone. And something like this, you're going to want some weight to it. It needs to have a little bit of weight for dowsing and, for moving around and so forth. So it is decent quality. I don't have anything negative about this. Like, it came quickly. It's what I ordered. It looks like what I ordered. It's the sizing of what I thought I would get. So I feel very positive about recommending if you're looking for a pendulum, you can get this. And again, it wasn't expensive at all. So that's why I purchased it. I felt called to. So that's why. In general, I'm really attracted to different tools for divination, to be honest. I like just kind of understanding what others use. And it's not so much to just use them all. I mean, if it resonates with me, I'll use it. But it's just one of those things I kind of like to collect. If anything, at least knowledge of. So runes was one thing that I definitely connected with, and I use them. I don't use it all. I still rely on tarot cards because it's just my go-to. It's familiar to me. I love the idea of pendulum, and I've had one, but I don't use it as much as I use my cards. And the funny thing is, I have oracle cards, and I don't even use those. Hardly ever. I typically rely on the same deck. And I go in and out of fashion, excuse me, I go in and out of fashion with the decks that I use, tarot decks that is. It's a thing, but anybody who reads cards, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like it's like for a while you just want to work with this one set of cards, and they feel like second nature. It feels like comfortable pair of clothes, comfy pajamas. And once you have those on, all is right with the world. You can interpret anything. Like, that's what it's like for me for tarot cards. But that also gave me positive feelings. The packaging is so cute. But anyway, this pendulum that I got, I felt drawn to it in that same way. And the more I touch it and hold it, I don't know, it feels like natural, very natural to me. Um, Now, cleansing. So if you do purchase something like this, how do you cleanse it? The first thought is, oh, well, the full moon, you can charge it like you charge your crystals because it's a crystal. Okay, that's one option. But did you know you don't have to only wait to the full moon? Let's say I don't want to wait. Let's say I want to start using it sooner before the next full moon. Okay, well, you can also, and I know you can say, well, some people charge on a new moon. Yeah, okay, let's say we're not going to work with the moon at this point. We're in between phases and you want to start using it. You can use incense of your choice, of burning herbs of your choice. The first thing is sage, which is perfectly acceptable for totally cleansing any other spirits, energies that are connected. I think that's actually my top choice. That's what I'm going to be using. But you could take it a step further. If you have your own blend of incense that you associate with purification, as far as from, metaphysically speaking, then use that incense. You just want to, through the smoke of the incense, you would just move it around. And maybe you ask the universe, whoever you're working with, you ask for it to be cleansed and to aid in the cleansing and, positive energy. You welcome, you only welcome those you call for, whatever you want to say. But, you could say something along those lines to have it cleansed. Pendulums aren't just for yes or no answers or answers to questions. And it sounds a little silly, but that's really how I always thought about it. Even though I printed out that pendulum board, I never really, the other things that was on it, I didn't use it when I was using. I never really used that. I always thought yes or no. In my mind, that's how it works. You ask a question, if it goes this way, it's yes, or whichever way you decide is yes or no. And if it went this way, it's maybe ask again or not right now or something like that. No, it's deeper than that. One of the things that I was learning, which again, I don't think anything is coincidence, because once that was put in my path, more information about the pendulum was put in my path where I wasn't really looking for it. And one of those things was dowsing, as far as for keeping your chakras aligned, which I find very interesting. And if I find out more about that, and I think it's worth sharing, believe me, I'll be doing a video about that, because it's piqued my interest to learn a little bit more about how that would work. So I'm still researching and learning myself. So again, if it's something I think is worthy of sharing, yeah, I'll let you know. You can let me know in the comments too if you're interested in hearing about that. I personally have never heard that. I'm not saying, obviously it's a thing. In my little world, I didn't know. So I had a very limited view of working with the pendulum. Yes and no, that's pretty much it. So it's been a learning experience for me, and I'm grateful for that. So now about the pendulum board, I know that I want to mimic what I had before, except I don't want to just use what I had before and I print it off from Pinterest. I want to create something a little bit more advanced. So kind of like what you would see on a Ouija board, except I want, it would be more in a circle and it would fit on an 8 by 12 page in my grimoire. But I would like to keep my board in my grimoire. I don't want to keep it separate. So there's that. And if I do keep it separate, now I got to create a whole system of that needs to be in some sort of box or casing, and then I could keep this in with the box. So I'm figuring that out. But I went on Etsy to peek if I was going to purchase someone else's board instead of making my own. And guys, there were so many nice things on there. If you just search pendulum board, man, there are some really nice stuff. And I didn't think anything was that expensive, so I might just go ahead and do that. I don't know. We'll see. I've only had this for a couple days. It just came in the mail. So I don't know yet, but I might do both. I'll have something in my book because I like having it in my book. I like having things accessible to me right there. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to rely on my book of shadows that I have been using up until this year, because then I have to keep having that readily available for when I use it. Anyway, it's still available, my book of shadows, but I'm really trying to build up my grimoire. It's like 2.0 of my book of shadows to me. My grimoire is like taking it up. I leveled that up too. I'm leveling up my witchy journals, to be more comprehensive and more attuned with me and where my witchcraft is right now. So I'm really taking my time with it, but this seems like the type of thing I would add. It makes sense to me. Yeah, I'm just going through my notes here, making sure I'm touching on the points. Oh, and yeah, oh, there is a fun tidbit that I wanted to talk about. The first time that I can remember a pendulum being introduced to the concept of pendulum in witchcraft was Charmed. And I think that's probably true for quite a few of us, but that's the first time I remember that I can remember seeing a pendulum being used. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, you know, when they were searching for demons, or they were searching for each other or something like that, or an artifact or something was going on, they would put a map out and they put the pendulum, and then it would just like fall on the page, fall where exactly it was. So my first go around many years ago at trying to use something, I had like a necklace or something that I was trying to use like a pendulum. And I remember thinking, I know that's TV, it's not going to work that way. But I'll be honest with you, I was low-key disappointed that it didn't do like it did on the TV show on Charmed. I kind of wanted it to be like definitively land and like drop out my hand if need be on the spot, or the yes or the no question or whatever I was doing. That didn't happen, so I felt like I needed to bring this up in case for some reason you thought that might happen. Although if you're watching this channel, you know that's not how it works. Then again, it could work like that, right? I shouldn't say that because you never know. Sometimes, you know, this whole witchy thing gets a little bit more mysterious than any of us can imagine, you know, and it might fall out your hand and land on the spot. So, hey, that's my tarot cards work that way. I think we all have that experience if you work with cards, oracle cards, or any cards. So you're shuffling, and then you know you've got a steady hand, and cards just flip out, like let's say 3 in a row, and they kind of just lay out perfectly for you. Or this has happened to me. I've shuffled cards and the same card will fall out after multiple shuffles. So I'm like, okay, clearly a message is coming across, and I'll stop and I'll go ahead and just kind of meditate on what that card says and what am I getting from this card. Even before because I'll be shuffling cards as I'm grounding myself and sort of centering and getting myself ready to kind of go onto that other plane so I can communicate more easily. And as I'm doing that, sometimes things will fall out. And I remember seeing somewhere somebody said, am I really good at cards, cards falling out, or am I just a bad shuffler? Maybe I don't know how to shuffle very well. Maybe it's a little bit of both. I don't know, but it works to my advantage. Either way, no matter how you look at it. So anyway, but yeah, I recommend the pendulum if you're in the market for it. And even if you weren't and you kind of wanted to, get a little something witchy and maybe try your hand using a pendulum, it's not a huge investment. It's actually really nice. Cleanse it, use it, see how you feel about it. Start with yes or no questions, and then, build into something more. Keep it simple. Now, I did want to talk about the ritual prep that I'm doing for my live on October 31st, and that's going to be at 5:30 Pacific time. The ritual that I'm doing, I'm simply saying it's a ritual for Samhain. And I'm going to have actually it's going to be over here, then I'm going to set that up. And at that, this space, I'll conduct the ritual, but I'm all over the place. The altar that I'm setting up will be here. The ritual is an action that I'll be doing in front of said altar. But anyway, the things that will be placed on the altar as part of the ritual, you'll need a small vessel for water, an incense of your choosing. This is, of course, if you want to follow along and do something with me, do this with me. But I'm going to have a small vessel of water. I'm going to have incense and white and black candles, and I'm also having some orange candles, and that's more decorative for the altar because orange represents this time of year and the season and all that sort of stuff. The white candle is representative of my ancestors, and the black candle is also representative of the overall day. Dead. You know, when you think of, a lot of people think of different things when the color black, but the way I'm using it in my ritual is to represent the dead, you know, death. And the white is more about the souls, the spirits, if you follow with me. And the orange, again, is for the season in itself. So I'm culminating all that together. An offering, now my offering will just be the water to my ancestors. But if you want to get a little more fancy, you can do water too, and maybe a little food, a little alcohol, especially if you kind of got a beat on, you know, the ancestors that you're working with. You might want to, you know, include something more specific. So that's fine. But I'm keeping it simple. And I'm just going to do water because that's what I've done in the past, and that resonates on both ends. So yeah, that's it. Any scents that you want to have going, if you have a diffuser, you might want to have, along with the incense, obviously, but ahead of time, if you do have a diffuser, you might want to have fall scents, I said brewing, going into the air. So cinnamon, clove, that sort of stuff, whatever resonates again with the season for you. So you might want to have that going, or you could take it a step further and you can use a rosemary essential oil or something like that, because rosemary is very much connected to this particular day, to Samhain that is. So you can use rosemary and let that, you know, go as well and permeate the air, sort of cleanse. Rosemary is very cleansing. It's purification type of herb, so protective as well. So you can, with intention, diffuse those scents also. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So the ritual, it's once I do it, well, you'll see, I don't want to give it all away, but it's I keep it pretty simple. My witchcraft is pretty simple in general. I tend to do what works for me. I don't speak in rhyme typically. And if I do, it's never on purpose. I usually accidentally do it. So, and honestly, when I'm usually doing this, some things I speak out loud, but a lot of times it's more, I emit emotion, feeling. It's not always in the form of words, pictures, imagery. That's what I'll have in my head, but I do all the work to put myself on a certain plane. And it's not about using necessarily English language to communicate. So it'll be really interesting when I do this ritual, because I do this ritual, or a variation of this ritual, every Halloween night. I do. And if for some reason I can't do it on that night, I do it the day after, or or early in the morning if I can't do it at night. And I've had very profound experiences once I've done it. So yeah, this should be fun, because usually I usually get somebody comes through and they communicate with me. So it'll be fun to see how that works when I'm on camera, but I'm willing to give it a try. Worst case scenario, you know, it's something I have to kind of come back to on my own when I'm not filming that live. And maybe they'll come through, or hey, they might wait till I have a dream or something like that and come through, because that happens too, where you're doing all this work, expending all this energy to get this communication going. You got the candles lit, you got the incense burning, you got the herbs, everything's popping off, and you know, they're like, nah, we'll wait until you fall asleep. We'll wait until you're unconscious, and then we'll communicate with you. So, you know, depending on who your ancestors are, they might be a little funny that way. But we shall see, we shall see. And it'll be great because if you guys are having, you know, any sort of connection, or you're getting a whiff or a memory pops in your head, however they choose to communicate with you, that'll be cool. So we'll all be able to kind of talk about that. And again, I'm really just looking for that community, because I've been working as a solitary practitioner all this time for more than a decade. And it would be nice, you know, even if it's virtual, you know, that's cool. And I think it's a lot of us who have been on our own. But this way we can kind of, you know, have a little bit of community and work together. So that's what I'm trying to promote by doing this, because I didn't want to do it by myself. And actually, my husband gave me this idea. He was like, hey, why don't you go live? That's a great time to do it. You haven't done that yet. And I was like, you know, that's a really good idea. And I started thinking about it more, and here we are. So yeah, that is it for Witchy review and a little bit of Samhain prep. So in the comments, excuse me, in the description, or maybe the comments, wherever I type it, I'll go ahead and just reiterate the things that I'm using again for this ritual in case you missed all that, as well as the link for Amazon where I purchased the pendulum. But thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, if you've already subscribed, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.